Hello students, so now this is second video for your important chapter Ailing Planet, Hornbill. So in the previous video we had done up to page number 44 and now we are to start with second last paragraph. So we have already seen here in this article the writer is talking about a shift in our perception. He said earlier maybe the nations were thinking for themselves only, but now after the green movement the shift is changed and now every nation wanted to protect their earth. Okay, so this is the plus point of this green movement, that everybody was there to now think about the earth first of all, okay, planet first of all. So now we start with second last para, page number 44. One of the early international commissions which dealt inter alia means, among other things, means this international commissions, they deal with other things, but along with this, okay, so with the question, now they dealt along with this question also, question of ecology and environment, okay, and it was the Brand Commission. Okay, this Brand Commission, among other things, now they dealt with the question of ecology and environment also, which had a distinguished Indian as one of its members, Mr. L.K. Jha. Okay, so this man was there, and now this commission, they also talked about this environment, okay, ecology. The first Brand report raised the question, are we to leave our successors a scorched planet of advancing deserts, impoverished landscapes and ailing environment? So this was the question raised in that report, that the way we are handling this earth, is it that really we are not thinking about the future generations? Is it that we are just thinking about ourselves and our present? Because this way maybe we would be leaving very scorched planet for our future generation if we do not take care of our earth right now. Mr. Lester R. Brown, in his thoughtful book The Global Economic Prospect, points out that the earth's principal biological systems are four. Now underline which book and then who wrote this book. Okay, Mr. Lester R. Brown wrote the book, and the book name is Global Economic Prospect. And here what he talked about one thing. He said actually earth's major principal systems are four principal systems. Biologically, there are four biological systems, and these are fisheries, forests, grasslands and croplands. Now actually this whole passage is important. You may get long question, you may get even 2 marks short question also from this area. Okay, so fisheries, forests, grasslands and croplands, and they form the foundation of the global economic system. So this is what he said, that for any nation, for their economy, these four systems are important. These four systems are biological systems, which are fisheries, forests, grasslands and croplands. In addition to supplying our food, these four systems provide virtually all the raw materials for industry except minerals and petroleum derived synthetics. So he says these four systems actually, they provide more or less all the raw material, okay, for any nation. Okay, this is important. Except minerals and petroleum derived things we do not get from these four biological systems. Otherwise, for all other things we get the raw material from here. In large areas of the world, human claims on these systems are reaching an unsustainable level, because naturally more or less we get all the raw material. That's why the human claims mean dependence of humanity, okay, dependence of nations on these four biological systems is increasing day by day. Okay, unsustainable level it is now increasing, a point where their productivity is being impaired. Now people are that much dependent on these four biological systems that sometimes it seems that maybe their productivity is harmed because of this over we can say dependence of on these biological four systems. When this happens, fisheries collapse. Naturally, if there is over dependence. So it means what will happen? Then one day fishery will collapse. It will have adverse effect on fisheries. Then forests disappear. Naturally, if we have that much dependence on forests, naturally we are cutting the trees for our maybe houses or for burning, whatever. But we need, if we need that much wood, we are cutting that much trees. So naturally we will be losing our forests. Then grasslands are converted into barren lands. Naturally, we are not thinking about environment. We are just getting the grass, cutting the grass, and we are not, producing more. So naturally, this grassland will become wasteland only, and croplands deteriorate. Naturally, crops also will be harmed. In a protein conscious and protein hungry world, overfishing is common every day. So because people are now these days, because they are naturally now learned people, that's why they are over enthusiastic for protein, and that's why maybe even there is more dependence on fishery also. In poor countries, local forests are being decimated in order to procure firewood for cooking. Decimated means destroyed. In poor countries, naturally people are dependent on wood only. So that's why the forests are being cut, for cooking, because they need firewood for cooking. In some places, firewood has become so expensive that what goes under the pot now costs more than what goes inside it. That's why in some countries now firewood is very costly. It is costly than the food. What goes under the pot is more costly than what goes inside the pot. Means the food is not that costly, but the firewood is more costly in poor countries because of over dependence. Since the tropical forest is, in the words of Dr. Myers, the powerhouse of evolution, several species of life face extinction as a result of its destruction. Naturally, forests are, we can say forests are there, then we can have balance. But if we are cutting the forest, naturally the balance is destroyed. So naturally it is harming, then it will be a direct harm to the human beings also. It's not that if these forests are not there, animals will be extincted, but it will have effect on human beings also. It has been well said that forests precede mankind, deserts follow. Naturally, before mankind there were trees, greenery, everything, but when man came on this earth, now he started using and then overusing. So that's why only deserts now will remain if we do not mend our ways. The world's ancient patrimony of tropical forests is now eroding. Patrimony means whatever we have inherited, the forest, the greenery which we had inherited from our parents, now it is being eroded, being, you can say, destroyed. Eroding at the rate of 40 to 50 million acres a year, means we are losing 40 to 50 million acres land. Losing land means the forests are converted into barren land. And the growing use of dung for burning deprives the soil of an important natural fertilizer. Now because of the more population, so naturally more firewood is required. If firewood is not available, then naturally cow dung is used, and otherwise this cow dung was used for as manure. So it was good fertilizer, but now that is also used in the, we can say, as in the houses only. The World Bank estimates that a 5-fold increase in the rate of forest planting is needed to cope with the expected fuel wood demand in the year 2000. Now you have to remember, this is already 2020. So whatever estimate was given in this article, it was given for 2000 only, because this article was written before that. So this was one of the assumptions, that this much plantation we need, 5-fold plantation we need if we want to save our earth. But it was needed in 2000. Maybe now we may need 7-fold or 6-fold or 10-fold even. This way. James Speth, the president of the World Resources Institute, said the other day, "We were saying that we are losing the forest at an acre a second, but it is much closer to an acre and a half to a second." So means we are losing that much forest every second. Okay. Article 48A of the Constitution of India provides that the state shall endeavour to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and wildlife of the country. He says in India, Article 48A says that it is the duty of the states to protect the environment of its state. But what causes endless anguish is the fact that laws are never respected nor enforced in India. But this is the pathetic condition of India. For instance, the Constitution says that casteism, untouchability, and bonded labor shall be abolished, but they flourish shamelessly even after 44 years of operation of the Constitution. So, this is the example that in India, actually, laws are not respected. Okay, he has given the example of especially untouchability, casteism, or child labor. It's still there. Okay, a recent report of our Parliament's Estimates Committee has highlighted that the near catastrophic depletion of India's forests over the last 4 decades. Okay, this report talks about that in the last 40 years, the forest, we can say this land, forest land we have lost. Okay, the forests are cut, but nobody bothered about planting the trees. Okay, India, according to reliable data, is losing its forest at the rate of 3.7 million acres a year. Large areas officially designated as forest areas, forest land, are already virtually treeless. The actual loss of forest is estimated to be about 8 times the rate indicated by the government statistics. See, he says government statistics says 3.7. Okay, this 3.7 million acres land we are losing per year. But he says actually it is much more than that, because this much data is given only in the official website. But otherwise, on paper, maybe many areas are shown, green areas, forest areas. But he says if you go over there, you will see there is not even a single tree. But it is put in the files as forest areas. But he says naturally, if we take these areas also into consideration, then maybe 8 times more land we are losing. Okay, whatever data is showing. A 3-year study using satellite and aerial photography conducted by the United Nations warns that the environment has deteriorated so badly that it is critical in many of the 88 countries investigated. So, United Nations investigated in 88 countries, and what they reported, they said that condition is really very, very bad in all the countries as far as environment is concerned. There can be no doubt that the growth of world population is one of the strongest factors distorting the future of human society. This is an important question. Okay, that what is the adverse effect of human population on environment? It took mankind more than 1,000,000 years to reach the first billion. That was the world population around the year 1800. By the year 1900, a second billion was added, and the 20th century has added another 3.7 billion. Okay, so this much, now this data you should learn. In what way there is increase in world population. The present world population is estimated at 5.7 billion. Every 4 days, the world population increases by 1 million. Okay, so this estimate is given at the time when this article was written. And then this line says every 4 days, 1 million is increased. So now maybe if this article we say is written maybe 25 years ago, then just count these 25 years into days and how much population then it means is increased. Okay, till date. Fertility falls. Now this is the important lines. You may get even short question. Fertility falls as incomes rise, education spreads, and health improves. He says if the incomes rise in any nation or people are educated, awareness is spread, people are healthy, they are aware about their health conditions. So he says naturally fertility rate would automatically fall, means there will be less population. People will have natural ways of controlling population. Thus, development is the best contraceptive. So he says there will be no need to take any artificial contraceptive ways to stop the population. If people are aware, educated, maybe they themselves will think that yes, they should have small families. But development itself may not be possible if the present increase in number continues. But he says actually this is irony. On one hand, we say if there is development, people would be aware of the side effects or the, we can say, after effects of high population. If there is development, but how can there be development? So this is the problem, that first we are to educate everybody, or we are to develop the nation. If the nation is developed, naturally education will be available to everybody. But how can nation develop? First of all, people should be educated. So this is the question, that the nation should think about giving education to its people, or think about other ways of developing the country. The rich get richer and the poor beget children, which condemns them to remain poor. He says actually in the developing country, this is the major problem. The rich keep on becoming richer, and the poor, they remain poor. Why? Because actually they give birth to more children. When they are giving birth to more children, nation is getting more population, families are getting large number of children, and that's why they remain poor. Many children does not mean more workers, merely more people without work. Actually, why poor people have more children? Because they feel if they have more children, then maybe they will be having more hands to work. But they never realize that this way they will be having more mouths, more stomachs to fill. Okay, so more people means only more food is needed. When there is no food, actually they will remain poor. It is not suggested that human beings be treated like cattle and compulsorily sterilized. Naturally, one way is to stop the population, sterilization. But like animals, it cannot be done on human beings. Only human beings can be sterilized. Animals can be sterilized. Human beings, they will have to adopt some or the other way to control population. So how can they control population? How can they adopt these methods? If they are educated. But there is no alternative to voluntarily family planning without introducing an element of coercion, means force. Naturally, this cannot be done forcefully on human beings. So human beings, they should educate themselves, and they should themselves have some or the other way to control population. The choice is really between control of population or perpetuation of poverty. So this man is to understand. If he wants to grow, then he will have to have control over population. Otherwise, there will be continuation of poverty only. The population of India is estimated to be 920 million today, more than entire population of Africa and South America put together. No one familiar with the conditions in India would doubt that the hope of the people would die in their hungry huntsments unless population control is given topmost priority. He says if in India population control is not taken seriously, then maybe people will always remain hungry, always remain poor only in their small huntsments. Huntsments means small huts which are temporary houses. For the first time in human history, we see a transcending concern. Now he says after green movement, little bit change has come. Perception is changed. Okay, so we can see transcending concern. People are shifting their views from one to other thing. Okay, so now what is the shift? The survival not just of the people but of the planet. So after green movement, now this is changed. Now people are not thinking about survival of their only, human beings only. Now they have started thinking about survival of the planet. We have begun to take a holistic view of the very basis of our existence. The environmental problem does not necessarily signal our demise. It is our passport for the future. Underline this line. Okay, he says the environment problem, if we have, that may not say directly that yes, we may all die because of environment problem. But certainly, if there is no environment problem, then only we can have bright future. Okay, means environment problem may not cause directly death of human beings, but it may affect our progress. The emerging New World Vision has ushered in the era of responsibility. It is a holistic view, an ecological view, seeing the world as an integrated whole rather than disassociated collections of parts. So now he says we have entered into era of responsibility. This is the time of responsibility where every nation is now taking the responsibility of saving the planet. Industry has a most crucial role to play in this new era of responsibility. Short question you may get, how industry can play its role. Okay, because when we talk about industry, we say yes, because the industry waste also. Okay, this earth is polluted, there is pollution. Okay, so now how industry should work out with a transformation would, okay, what a transformation would be affected if more businessmen shared the view of the chairman of DuPont, Mr. Edgar S. Woolard, who 5 years ago declared himself to be the company's chief environmental officer. He says this would be one example he has given. He says this would be maybe best thing to do, that if the owners of the mills, factories, they give themselves this duty of becoming environmental officer, means they themselves should devise some ways to control the this factory waste. Okay, then only we can, because we cannot say no to the factories because we are to progress. But if factories are there, then actually factory people only should have some ways to dispose of the waste of the factory. He said, our continued existence as a leading manufacturer requires that we excel in environmental performance. Actually, he says, if you want to be number one, okay, as a manufacturer, then this is your duty only to become number one also in saving environment also. Of all the statements made by Margaret Thatcher during the years of her prime ministership, okay, when she was prime minister, okay, she made this one of the very beautiful statements once. None has passed so decisively into the current coin of English usage as her fallacious words. Means these words in one of the statement she said, what once she had told, no generation has a freehold on this earth. Okay, this is what once she said, that no generation should think that this earth is their freehold property. No, this earth is never their property. All we have a life tenancy with a full repairing lease. Rather, she said, we always think that we are tenants over here. Okay, whatever life we have got, we are living on this earth. Okay, freely we can live, but we should think always that we are tenants and one day we are to leave this earth for the next generation. So we can have the repairing lease. Okay, means if there is some defect, naturally we can go for repairing, but we should never think that I'm the owner of this land, I'm the owner of this earth. In the words of Mr. Lester Brown, we have not inherited this earth from our forefathers, we have borrowed it from our children. This is what he said we should think. Lester Brown said, never think that we have inherited this earth from our forefathers, because when we inherit something, we feel this is our property now. He says, no, never ever think that we have inherited this earth from our parents or grandparents. No, we should always think that we have borrowed it. Why? Because when we borrow something, we are supposed to return it exactly as it is. Okay, in the same condition we are to return it. So always think that we have borrowed this earth and one day we are to return it in the same good condition. So then only we will be able to think the video, and I'm sure you will be able to attempt all the questions. Okay, so now just start working hard. Thank you.